Operation Move podcast. My name is Zoe, and this week we're going to be talking about things that you think would come naturally but don't in running. And so this week we're going to be talking about breathing. It's definitely one of those things that comes up a lot in Learn to Run because it's so hard in the beginning and it feels really hard. And I think that it can be tough to accept that any form of breathing is going to feel hard in the beginning and you're going to feel like you're out of breath and it's going to be a bit of a struggle, which is why you want to be really careful with the running progression at that stage. And it is something that will just gradually improve over time. But because it is a struggle, one of the big things that people often think in the beginning is that they're mouth breathing when they should be nose breathing, which is not true. Like, you should always pretty much be breathing through your mouth because you get in more oxygen that way. Breathing through your nose is going to be a whole lot more challenging, less oxygen. It's going to make the whole process quite difficult. And there is a place for nose breathing once I think that you're at a level where it's comfortable and it does feel easy. You can use nose breathing to sort of like calm down your heart rate, but it would have to be, you have to be running at a pretty low intensity level for that to work, because you'll find even if you're out on an easy run and it is easy for you, if you switch to nose breathing, you'll start to notice how you'll either go to breathe in through your mouth, or you will need to slow down significantly to be able to manage that process. And when people often think because they're mouth breathing that's what's making their mouth dry, their throat dry, when really it's probably much more likely to be coming from dehydration. So and that can be an issue in summer or winter, because in summer obviously it's very easy to get dehydrated, and in winter you probably don't drink enough because you're not as hot, and so therefore you're not having enough water, and that's sort of what can lead to that sort of dry mouth situation that you can get into. So the first step is not to worry about attempting to breathe through your nose, because it's just going to make it much harder, and just embrace the mouth breathing, as much oxygen as possible. The only time where I would say that you might need to go into some nose breathing is if you have exercise-induced asthma, then, and it's cold, warming up the air before it hits your lungs can help. But other than that, for every other situation, 100% mouth breathing. But what often happens, particularly when you're new to running and it's hard and your body goes into a bit of stress mode, is that you can default to this kind of shallow breathing or chest breathing, which is not what you want. What we want is deep belly breathing. And it's very hard to be practicing that during a run. So it's the kind of thing that you want to get into when you are not in a situation where you're exerting yourself. You want to sort of just do it at home when you're doing other things. And you can tell when you're doing full deep breathing because your abdomen will expand with the breath, and that's what you want. And so eventually, if you do that enough at home, then when you are in a situation like running or like with anything else, that is what you will default to, not to the shallow breathing. And although the breathing will just naturally improve over time, there are things that you can do to help it, and one is getting into some breathing exercises. So practicing that deep breathing is going to help, but also you can start to do something which is called box breathing, which is just going to help you with deep breathing, yes, but it's also going to help you just work on lung capacity and lung control and all of those sorts of things. So what box breathing is start with something pretty simple where you inhale for, let's just say, start off with 3 seconds, and then at that, for 3 seconds, you then hold your lungs full for another 3 seconds, and it shouldn't feel like a struggle. So if it feels like a struggle, just take it down to a time frame that's not a struggle, and then you would exhale for 3 seconds. And then when your lungs are empty, hold that empty position for 3 seconds. And again, pick something that's not going to be a struggle and then just repeat. And you can do that. So it's a great way to downregulate, to sort of like either bring yourself back into recovery after a workout, or to get yourself ready for sleep at night. And it doesn't take that long, and you can, as you get more comfortable, you can extend the time frame. So you might start at 3 seconds and then build up to 5 or 10 or whatever is comfortable for you. And that is just going to help you to get a lot more comfortable with using the full capacity of your lungs. It's going to get you into a better pattern of deep breathing, and it's also going to help to sort of like calm down your body, so it's primed for recovery basically. And with breathing, oftentimes people also really want to know, is there something that you can do to improve your lung capacity or to improve your diaphragm strength? And with diaphragm strength, probably the best thing that you can do is Pilates, particularly the 100, which is awful, but really good. And I'll link you up to some exercises, some videos of some exercises that are going to be great for that if you want to work on that. So that would probably be the first place that I would start with the diaphragm. And there are also specific running workouts which are going to help to improve your lung capacity. Like general fitness will improve your lung capacity, but generally speaking, it's the really high intensity workouts that are going to do that. I'm sorry. It's not often what people want to hear is that like death sprinter is what is going to improve your lung capacity, but there it is. So generally speaking, if you are new to running, you can start with something really short. So, and really, like particularly with hill sprints, anything above 12 seconds is not really a sprint anyway, it's a repeat. So things like those really short, really high intensity sprints with loads of recovery can really help to improve your lung capacity. And you'll find that, say you do some of those hill sprints and then the next session the breathing just feels a little bit easier, and that's why. So you can definitely work some of that intensity in there, and especially in the beginning where it feels kind of rough on the system, you can do it by going, okay, like I'm going to do like an 8-second sprint and then I'm going to rest for 2 minutes. And this can seem like it's not a whole lot of work in the beginning, but it's just it's a different style of training. So you just got to trust the process and trust that your legs, it's going to allow you to go to a much more intense place by being a super short time frame. It's not going to require any endurance for you to do that because it is just that 8 seconds, and you're going to get loads of recovery. So that can also be a great way of increasing your lung capacity and making everything just feel just that little bit easier, especially in terms of the breathing. Another question that people often have with breathing is there a breath to foot strike sort of ratio? Like some people kind of breathe in for 3 steps, breathe out for 3 steps. And the answer is that there's not. I mean, some people will naturally tend to have a rhythm, and I think that mine does tend to be probably 3 steps breathe in, 3 steps breathe out, but it doesn't actually matter. It's not going to actually make it any easier for you. You'll probably find your own rhythm, whatever that is. The main thing to be aware of, particularly in the beginning with breathing, is that it can be easy to hyperventilate. So do not forget to breathe out because it can feel when it's hard that you just need to get more and more air in, but you also need to make sure that you're fully exhaling as well. And there are probably just a couple of other things to be aware of with breathing as well. One is that if you are getting sick or you have been sick, you can expect that to be just a little bit more challenging. So you want to just take it easy and listen to your body, and not push too hard in those situations, because it is, everything is just, when you have been sick or you're getting sick, everything's just working that little bit harder. So you definitely want to keep things to an effort level that feels good, and to just be aware that might be happening. So, and oftentimes I find just adjusting your expectations makes things feel that little bit easier, and it's a bit more achievable. So, if I go in knowing this might not feel like it normally feels, then you're expecting it, and it doesn't sort of disrupt your mindset at all. So that's something to be aware of with the breath. And the other thing is too, for hard workouts, and this is as much for new runners as it is for well-established runners, it's easy to forget that your warm-up needs to be more than just easy warming up. So if you're at the stage of continuously running, then it needs to be more than just easy running, because your workout is not going to be easy running. So part of the purpose of doing some short paced sort of strides or little mini sprints is to get your breathing up. So you are warming up your breathing as much as you're warming up your legs, and so that when you actually start, it's not a big shock to the system, because you've already started that process, you've already started preparing the body. So if you get into a workout and you're doing an interval and you start to feel like that real sort of like burn in the lungs, that's a classic sign of not having warmed up properly. So if that happens at all, then it's just a sign that either the warm-up needs to be longer, or you need to have a little bit more intensity in your warm-up, so that it's not just sort of like warming up at this level that is not going to be at all replicated in the workout. It from me for today. If you have any questions about breathing, let me know, and I can always do a follow-up, or we can just have a chat about it. We've got on, I think, when is it? 22nd of April is when the new Learn to Run group starts. So you can jump in on that now. We're doing sort of like the pre-program stuff at the moment in the Facebook group. So if you want to dive into that, I will link you up to that as well. As always, Run Club is always open to join, and you can access resources, training plans, get the support of a coach for any questions that you have as you sort of make your way through whatever goals that you're working on this year. That's always available, and I will speak to you next week.